It's time for chewing on the wire radio.
No, God! No,
Hey,
God,
no
please,
biting.
no!
Hey,
No!
no biting. Okay? You want me to bite you? You know that hurts, Daddy. I told you, silly. No biting, okay?
And welcome to another episode of Chewing on the Wire Radio, a very special episode of Chewing on the Wire Radio. This is part 2 to our Canada trip. So, you may have already heard part 1, Part 1 came out, live on the air while we were in Canada, etc., etc. This part 2 here is kind of the extra bits because we got like 2 days of recording, of being there, 2 evenings. We were able to put some vibes out there in the Canadian air. So yeah, if you haven't heard part 1, go back and listen to it. I'm not sure the time differences of when this will be posted, or when you can listen to this on demand as compared to when you could listen to the other one. But yeah, so day 2, part 2, night 2 in Canada. So if you heard from the first one, it was kind of hard for me to kind of write a script or kind of come up with stuff to talk about for this episode, because it was very much like I wanted to do something Canadian related, I didn't want to just talk about my normal crap, because then what's the difference that we're physically in Canada, like right now, like who cares then, you know what I mean? So I want to do something Canada related. So in the first one, did a little bit of a Canadian quiz, like Canadian citizenship type of quiz about like, you should know all these facts if you're from Canada, and I totally failed doing that yesterday. I may have gotten like 1 right, but anyway. So for the second one, somewhat similar to the first one, but this time we're not doing a quiz. We kind of let you guys write our script today, something related to Canada. You guys sent us some facts and some links from Business Insider, is where the links came from, about the country we're currently staying in for the next 2 or 3 days here, while we're on our road trip, while we're on our little road trip. So you sent us, so we can learn a little bit about where we are, what's going on here. You sent us some ways, some facts, some ways, differences. So gosh, I can't talk. Some differences, Canada. But all right, I just can't talk today. You sent us some differences between the United States and Canada, so we can learn a little more about where we're at, what's going on. Hopefully don't get in too much trouble. Maybe you send us some legal advice. You know how that could be. So let's get into it. Let's crack this book open. So the first thing we got here, obviously, kind of, I expected this to be one of them. Canada's government system differs from America's. A little description put in here. While America is led by a president, Canada is a Commonwealth country led by a prime minister, and technically Queen Elizabeth is the head of state in Canada, though she really doesn't do much. Political parties are also different. In the US, We have two major parties, Democratic and Republican. Canada has four major parties and many smaller ones like Conservatives, Liberals, New Democratic Party, and the Green Party. So it sounds like they have some more options, you know? When the two you're given suck and are both horrible people, you have some other options. I don't know who's running for anything up here, so hopefully all four don't suck. But as a country, Canada is more welcoming to outsiders. I don't think it takes that much to be more welcoming to outsiders. So description, this particular difference has never been as obvious as it is right now. Canadians are welcoming more refugees and immigrants than America. According to NPR, Canadians see immigration as critical to their economical success. Wow, look at that. The nation has invited in so many immigrants that today 1/5 of the population is foreign-born. Immigrants are referred to as new Canadians, with the expectation that they will stay in the country. In terms of refugees, there is a hashtag Welcome Refugees program that offers help and assistance. Canadian Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship from 2013 to 2015, Chris Alexander, told NPR the biggest contrast between US and Canada is that we have reformed our immigration system continuously, intensively, for a decade at a time, when the US has been facing gridlock. Interesting. Another factor, Canadians take more breaks at work and have more vacation time. It seems like it, because I will say there are a lot more like happy-hearted people here. And I say that just like if you're walking down the street in New York City, everyone's a douchebag. Here, you got some foreigners, or, you know, some of the French Canadians who think they're all that in a bag of chips that are douchebags, but everyone else seems pretty chill. When it comes to jobs, Americans work more than Canadians. Canadians take on vacation time resembles that of Europe. According to HR Daily Advisor, Canadian employees are given 30-minute breaks every 5 hours, although American employees are given breaks as well. Canadians are more likely to take them. Ooh. As for vacation time, it depends on how many years an employee has been working, but Canadians with 1 or more years of service are entitled to 2 weeks of paid vacation at least. After 5 or 6 years of working, the number goes up to 3 weeks. And the U.S. employees are typically given much less. In fact, the U.S. doesn't legally require companies to offer paid vacation time. Interesting. And I was already liking it up here for other reasons, but Canadians drink out of a bag of milk. You know what? Fuck you. I'm not reading that explanation, because what the fuck is that? Anyway. Canadians have very different snacks than America. I saw, and I'm just reading from this, they're big on maple syrup, and what is this called? Poutine, which Donovan said he'd murder someone if, someone in our party if they got poutine. Because I will say it looks disgusting. I'm not really sure how I feel about it. But yeah, he's not having it. There is no middle school in Canada. I thought this was interesting. In the U.S., the public schooling system is set up so that children start off in kindergarten, then move on to elementary school through 5th grade, and middle school through 8th grade, and then high school through 12th grade. In Canada, however, there is no such thing as middle school. Children go to elementary school up through 7th grade, then enter high school through 12th grade. In Quebec, students finish high school after 11th grade and then go on to vocational school for 2 years. After that, they might go on to college. Wow, so they're smart, you know what I mean? Not, well, they might be charging people, but not forcing them to go through all of this high school, and then, if you want to get a job, you're gonna have this piece of paper we call a diploma. Oh, but you gotta pay us millions of dollars to get that, though. It's easier to go out and eat in large groups in Canada. I could see that. Every corner here, there's like a corner bar. It's quite interesting. Americans do a lot more online shopping than Canadians. Yeah, surprise, surprise. Canadians don't use pennies. We're gonna get time out. Oof. I don't know what happened. I'm reading too much. This is what happens when you read. All right. I recommend you don't read to children. Just put your baby in front of the TV. All right, this is rough. You'll see what happens when you start reading. I was told I'm a good reader, and I do it very fast, but then you see what happens when I read too much. Ah. Alright, the next one y'all sent. Canadians put more emphasis on higher education. According to a report from the Organization for Economic Cooperations and Development, Canada has the largest percentage of adults seeking higher education at 55.2% of Canadian adults. Also, Canadian adults ages 25 to 64. Holy shoot. Have some level of college education. Oh, okay. All right. I thought they were going to say are seeking to go back to school. I'm like, huh? Americans do not use the same measuring system, and I think that's dumb. After we go into all of this, I kind of have an opinion on that. I think it's kind of dumb how much contrast there is between Canada and the USA. You know, you have to get a passport to come in here and all that stuff. And this is one of those things that I think is really dumb, and everyone makes fun of America for not using the metric system and all that. It's like, well, and again, this could just be the Americans' opinion on it, but it's one of those, like, a foot. I don't know how to explain this and not sound like a dumb way, because then there's a way I could explain it that I'm going to sound dumb to people that use our system and that use the metric system. Like, we use the imperial system. Everyone else basically uses the metric system, but the imperial system, I just feel like, 12 inches is a foot, and it's like I can't really think of how to explain it in like a good way and why it makes more sense. But then it's just like using centimeters. It's like speed's a good one. All right, speed's a really good one. So, and again, this might be the American, comment on it. Maybe this isn't, again, people that are used to the metric system thing. But like when you're driving in a car, if you're in a place where there's a lot of people, you want to drive the car slow. So just how numbers work. Doesn't matter if it's the imperial system or the metric system. How numbers work. Okay? A low number is 1. A high number is 100. So when you're in something that goes very, 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 very fast, or can go very, 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 very fast, a low number for something that can go very, very, very fast is 25. So usually when you're in a populated area with people in it, 25 miles an hour is a good speed to go. 25 or less. School zones are usually 20, all right? Then let's look up right here. I can get this to work. Hold on. And we gotta search, Google search on Bing, because I hate Bing and all that, but so 25 is then 40 kilometers per hour. Like, does that make, like, that's just one of those simple examples. Like, you want to go slow when there's children around in a school zone, so you'd go 20 miles an hour. It's very slow, very low on the odometer. Not halfway up the odometer at 40, you know what I mean? Or speedometer. And it's one of those, then you look at, let's look up another one, because I want to make sure my math is right, so I don't get made fun of even more. So here's another good one. You want to go not super duper speeding fast where you'd, hit someone and kill someone type. Well, it is still kind of going super duper fast. But like here in America, we're like, if you ever go 100 miles an hour or something like that, that's like the end of your speedometer. Your car should not ever be doing that, or your car will be taken away from you, because that is way too fast, all right? Our highway speeds on our toll roads, etc., going from state to state, 70 miles an hour, and that's like max. There's times where you could even be going 75, and like if a cop sees you and is really like, that's getting to be unsafe, even though it's only 5 over, because you're getting so much, higher than the high speed limit already, you can get pulled over. In kilometers an hour, that's 112 kilometers an hour. That's way too, like, you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm making sense with this, but it's one of those, I just feel like, the imperial system just makes more sense. It's like 12 inches to a foot, not 115 centimeters to one. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make, like, you're putting small numbers to small numbers, not big numbers to small numbers. And it's just one of those. Or when you're saying it, and again, maybe this makes perfect sense to people who have been using the metric system their whole life, but uh like ride stats for roller coasters, because that's what we're all about here. Canada's Wonderland's up there, up here now, whatever. um and so it's like a decent speed. You want to make sure your ride goes at least 40 miles an hour, 40 to 75, or I mean 72 is usually the good. Like Maverick goes around that speed, that's a good, it's a fast ride, but it's not going to kill you. Then, like I said, you get into Canada, and if Maverick was in Canada, 112, let me find the page again, 34 to 15, 117 kilometers an hour. Like that, like, I just feel like all the numbers are inflated for no reason. And it's probably a really dumb complaint, and it doesn't matter all in all, but it's just like when you're teaching kids, how fast you can drive, how far away, this, that, and the other thing, it's like, keep it slow, keep it down low, keep it in the 20s. 20 is a low number, keep it down there. Trying to explain that to someone in Canada, keep it around 112, you know what I mean? Like that, I just don't like that. I just don't like the metric system for like little reasons like that. Or when it comes to, like, you don't let your dog off the leash that much, only a foot or two. Then in Canada, you're like, it can be about 130 meters. Like, no, it shouldn't be a large number, because you don't want it to run away like that. But that 3 could be 112. You know what I mean? It's just, I just don't like it like that. And then it's little things like, as we're reading here, and now I'm just getting off topic. I feel like we've read all the interesting ones, or the ones that I was into. There's only like 2 more left. One about language, and one about them loving Tim Hortons more than Starbucks, and them getting free healthcare. Those are the last 3 I didn't read. But it's just another one of those things where I know there's subtle difference. I know there's governmental differences and stuff, but it's like, if you think of how much business Canada and America does, like, together, whether it be sports, which are very prominent here, and one of the reasons it bothers me the most, or like half the movies that come out in the US, and sometimes exclusively the US, sometimes, not always, filmed in Vancouver, Canada, you know what I mean? Or things like that. Like, oh, it's a TV show, but like almost all of Psych, I think, was in Vancouver, Canada. It's just little things like that. And I know they have some programs, I can think of 1 or 2, but I just think it's still like insane. Like, I would understand them still being 2 countries. I shouldn't say they should come together and be, one country or something like that, do a mashup. But it's just one of those, just for how much work they do together, for how much they use each other, spin off each other, whether it's economically, etc., and you might not even realize it, or you might look up the numbers and say it's like really small. But then people in industries such as ours, like, we work a lot with the Lake Erie Monsters for our photos and videos in these episodes. And then it's like, we have the block of road trips up in Canada. So then we have to take off of every other project we're doing, because we got to make sure all like 6 people that we're working with have passports, have potentially background checks for the passports if we have to send this in. It's just like, we're going to be there for 12 hours, and you already have different, work permits or whatever you have, like, worked out with this. Like, just, we're going right over the border for 12 hours, you know what I mean? Nothing's going on. It's not like we're taking a plane to a different country and the whole everything's completely, because there's some countries that have like rules completely unrelated. Like, there are certain countries you can't swear in. There are certain countries you can't wear the color red or something, you know what I mean? Like, there's some super strict, like, Canada's just not one of them. It's basically America, but they don't like how America was run, so they changed the little things. But then it's so much so, like, they understand where the profits, where the this, that, and the other thing, etc., are, that they still do business with them. They have teams in our leagues. They have our movie companies given filming locations, in certain spots, in certain territories and states. So it's like, just let us go back and forth. Just let us go back and forth. And I understand having to have that gold star on your driver's license, or having to have something to make sure they know who you are, still having to go through that toll booth, something like that. But it's just this whole, like, we were going to Toronto to quite literally, like, take pictures of the Maple Leafs arena and just, like, see the team type of situation. And we had to go through, like, you would have thought we were going to, like, Baghdad getting ready for the war type of thing. Like, dude, come on, man. There's no way. Just, and that could just be a personal gripe, that's kind of my hill that I'll, like, die in. And I heard it used to be like that. You should just have some kind of card or, like, a license with a gold star on it, and you could not need a passport or something. Or, well, and there were even people that I've met from working at this nursing home and all that stuff that were like, yeah, it used to just be basically they didn't want to work under our rule, we didn't want to work under theirs, but, like, other than the governmental system and how, they handled healthcare, and obviously the measurements, they used kilometers like we just went over, but that was kind of it, like, that was kind of the only things really, that were really different. So that me and like, what one of the residents was saying, yeah, me and my grandpa, me and my dad used to just go up to, Barrie, Ontario, and just, like, fish, because you could just get in with this card, or you didn't have to show, any ID. You just kind of had to check in and out as long as they could, like, verify your citizenship or something like that. And I'm like, dang, I wish that's how it was, because you're right. There's basically no difference other than those 3 bullet points if they didn't want to work the way we work, but I don't know. I just think that's crazy. And maybe it's something that only affects me, and I've only thought this deep about because it's one of those things. It's like, love going on the road trips, doing these shows and doing the monsters, photography, writing about them for our, our blog, our articles and stuff like that. Then we have to, like, stop and kind of just freeze and stop everything we're doing in the middle of the season if we're all not on the same page, because then they go to Canada 2 or 3 times a season for these road trips and they won't just let us in. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those weird, like, I don't know. It's maybe it's something that just bothers me. Maybe it's the hill. Like I said, it's the hill I'll die on. That I understand wanting to be separate and working your own country, working your own rules, etc., etc. All that in a bag of chips. But, like, is it really that different as compared to other countries, other regions, other places that you have to, like, pass an 18-step background to go to frickin' Canada, but Toronto, you know what I mean? It's like you, and it's one of those, I'm not dealing with anything in, like, the government or anything like that. Like, I'm not dealing with any business whatevers. So quite honestly, other than the monetary, they use different currency, I haven't noticed anything different. Still drive on the right side of the road, check into the hotel the same, talk to people the same. Like, like, it's not, there's not really different customs or anything here. So that's why I just don't understand why it's got to be, like, as if, like, you're flying to Paris or Ireland or somewhere that, like, clearly has some different boundaries set up. You know what I mean? What else? We got 2 minutes before we got to call it. I feel like there was something else I was going to say. And as soon as I turn this off, as soon as I'm, like, done with this, done with my little rant, I'm going to think of it, and it's going to bother me. I don't know. It's just one of those situations. They're so closely related. It's one of those, and we'll get the contacts, whether it's from Canada's or Wonderland or something, like, love the work you're doing with blah, blah, blah. You should come up here sometime, or, because it's in the same amusement park chain owns those parks up there. The same league, like, the teams are in the same league, all this stuff. And it's like, the one block we haven't covered because they won't just let us in, or they get all suspicious. Like, it's one of the, like, you can call this an organization. I guess we have, like, a business license, but, like, we're not, like, there, like, on work. You know what I mean? It's one of those, like, like, a lot of the times, unless something special is going on, even if we do have a contract with the monsters, unless it's, like, something very, very special going on involving us specifically, it's not like we're going up there to, like, do work. Like, we need a work visa. Like, they're not paying us to be there. Like, we write a blog. You know what I mean? if you even know what that is, because I feel like it's so out of date, but that's technically what the website is. But then you go up there, sounds like you need a business visa. Oh my god, dude. I'm going to see a hockey game. Can you, like, take a breath? Like, it's so frustrating. And like I said, maybe this is just a me type of thing. Maybe no one else, thinks about this or experiences this, but it's just like, yeah, it's just not that different. I don't think it's that deep. You know what I mean? That could be me, though. And with that, we only got a couple seconds left here. I will say the other big difference is kind of there has been a little bit of a language barrier. We haven't been up to Quebec and all that, where it's very French Canadian, but that was the only kind of challenge with some people. You hear them walking around speaking French, and it's like, dang. If I get like stuck in one of these boroughs, I might not be able to talk my way out. Like if I get lost and they're not speaking English, that's kind of the only tricky part. They do have two national languages up here, type of situation. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far, and I'm looking forward to coming back. Because guess what? Now we got all of our paperwork. Now we got our passports, our background checks. So we got to come back for some hockey now. With that, we got 12 seconds left. I feel like I made like perfect time because I've like run out of things to say, and the alarm is about to go off here in 4 seconds. I guess it wasn't as loud as I thought it was gonna be. I was gonna let it ring out there so we can hear some Blink-182. That was my alarm noise. But anyway, thank you for tuning in. I hope I didn't go off too much or insult any Canadians, etc. etc. Thank you for listening. Tune in to Chewing on the Wire Radio. Next time we're doing whatever we do, then thanks. Alright. I'm done.